The feminist movement, at its core, is a fight for gender equality. It's a fight against the systemic oppression, discrimination, and prejudice that has been ingrained in our society for generations. It's a fight for the basic human right to be treated equally, regardless of gender. The suffragette movement was a pivotal moment in the history of the feminist movement, and it laid the foundation for many of the gains that would follow. With the right to vote, women were able to participate in the democratic process and have a say in the laws that affected their lives. It also paved the way for more women to enter into positions of power, and to become leaders in their communities and the world at large. Following the suffragette movement, the second-wave feminist movement emerged in the 1960s and 1970s. This movement focused on issues such as reproductive rights, workplace discrimination, and sexual harassment. It was during this time that many of the laws protecting women's rights were established, including the Equal Pay Act of 1963 and Title IX of the Education Amendments Act of 1972. However, the feminist movement was not without its detractors. Throughout its history, there have been those who have sought to undermine the goals of the movement and to discredit the work of feminists. This has often taken the form of dismissing feminists as angry, militant, or irrational, or portraying the movement as unnecessary or even harmful to society. Despite these challenges, the feminist movement has persisted and continues to make progress towards achieving gender equality. Today, feminists are working to address issues such as the gender pay gap, reproductive justice, and violence against women. They are also pushing for greater representation of women in positions of power, from politics to the boardroom. The second-wave feminist movement of the 1960s and 1970s was a response to the ongoing inequalities and discrimination that women were facing in all areas of their lives. The movement was characterized by a wider range of issues beyond suffrage, such as reproductive rights, workplace discrimination, and sexual harassment. One of the key goals of the second-wave feminist movement was to challenge traditional gender roles and societal expectations of women. This included fighting for equal pay and access to employment opportunities, as well as advocating for reproductive justice and access to birth control and abortion. The movement also sought to challenge and raise awareness of issues such as sexual harassment, domestic violence, and sexual assault. Second-wave feminists organized protests and demonstrations, such as the Women's Strike for Equality in 1970, which saw women across the country demanding equal rights and recognition. Feminist literature also played a crucial role in the movement, with books such as Betty Friedan's The Feminine Mystique and Germaine Greer's The Female Eunuch becoming influential texts that inspired many women to become involved in the movement. The National Organization for Women, NOW, and the Women's Liberation Movement were two key organizations that emerged during this time, providing a platform for women to come together and fight for their rights. Now worked to achieve legislative and policy changes to advance women's rights, while the Women's Liberation Movement focused on grassroots organizing and consciousness-raising efforts to empower women at the individual level. While the second-wave feminist movement achieved many important victories, such as the legalization of abortion and the passage of the Equal Pay Act, it also faced significant backlash and opposition. Anti-feminist sentiments were pervasive in society, with many people dismissing feminist goals as unrealistic or even harmful. This backlash was especially evident during the rise of the conservative movement in the 1980s, which sought to roll back many of the gains made by feminists. In the 1980s and 1990s, the feminist movement saw the emergence of intersectional feminism, which recognized that gender inequality cannot be addressed in isolation from other forms of oppression. This new approach to feminism emphasized the intersectionality of different forms of oppression, such as racism, ableism, homophobia, and transphobia, and how they contribute to the experiences of marginalized communities. Intersectional feminists recognize that not all women face the same challenges and barriers to equality, and that the experiences of women of color, LGBTQ+ women, disabled women, and other marginalized groups are often overlooked or ignored in mainstream feminist discourse. They sought to address this by advocating for a more inclusive and diverse feminist movement that took into account the multiple and intersecting identities of women. Intersectional feminists also emphasize the importance of recognizing the ways in which systems of oppression are interconnected and reinforce each other. For example, racism and sexism intersect to create unique experiences of discrimination and oppression for women of color. This intersectional approach challenged traditional feminist activism, which often centered on the experiences of white, middle-class, cisgender women. One of the key figures in the emergence of intersectional feminism was Kimberly Crenshaw, who coined the term in her 1989 essay Demarginalizing the Intersection of Race and Sex, a Black feminist critique of anti-discrimination doctrine, feminist theory, and anti-racist politics. Crenshaw argued that a single-axis approach to discrimination and inequality was insufficient and that an intersectional approach was necessary to address the complex and overlapping nature of oppression. Intersectional feminism has continued to evolve and grow over the years, with more and more activists and organizations adopting an intersectional approach to their work. Today, intersectional feminism is an integral part of the feminist movement, with many activists and organizations working towards a more inclusive and intersectional approach to gender equality. Today, the feminist movement continues to evolve and adapt to changing social and political landscapes. Modern-day feminists are advocating for a range of issues, from reproductive justice and equal pay to transgender rights and the fight against sexual harassment and assault. One of the most prominent recent feminist movements is the Me Too movement, which began in 2017 and quickly gained momentum worldwide. The Me Too movement is focused on raising awareness of sexual harassment and assault, particularly in the workplace, and providing support for survivors. Social media played a significant role in the movement, with the hashtag #MeToo allowing survivors to share their stories and experiences and bringing global attention to the issue. Another important issue that modern-day feminists are fighting for is reproductive justice. Reproductive justice is a framework that seeks to ensure that all individuals have the right to make decisions about their bodies, sexuality, and reproduction, free from coercion, discrimination, and violence. This includes access to safe and affordable contraception, abortion, and reproductive health care, as well as the right to have and raise children in safe and healthy environments. Transgender rights have also become a significant focus of feminist activism in recent years. Transgender individuals face high rates of discrimination, violence, and marginalization, and are often excluded from mainstream feminist discourse. Modern-day feminists are working to include transgender voices and perspectives in the movement, advocating for transgender rights, and fighting against discrimination and violence towards transgender individuals. Social media has become a powerful tool for feminist activism, allowing activists to connect and organize across borders and amplify their voices. Hashtags such as #MeToo, #TimesUp, #ReproJustice, and #TransRights have brought global attention to feminist issues and helped to mobilize communities and raise awareness. The feminist movement has come a long way since the suffragette movement of the late 19th century. It has evolved to become a more inclusive, intersectional, and diverse movement, advocating for gender equality for all genders. While there is still much work to be done, the feminist movement has made significant strides towards a more equitable and just society. By continuing to raise awareness and fight for gender equality, we can create a world where all genders are valued and respected.